My cousin wore his necklace to Mykonos. I had been saving for years so that my son could walk again. But the thief was sleeping in my guest room. My name's Harper. I'm 34, a fourth-grade teacher in Jacksonville, Florida. And 3 days ago I caught my cousin Ray stealing my son's future while I was frosting a cake. It was Sunday. Humid as hell. Jalen, my 8-year-old, was standing on a stool beside me, mixing cocoa powder like his life depended on it. He was grinning. Focused. His whole body swayed with the rhythm of the spoon. He kept saying, "Mom, this is the best day." The best. We weren't celebrating a birthday. It was something bigger. Jalen had just been approved, finally, for that rare pediatric therapy program in Austin. 6 weeks of hope. Hope for better balance. Hope to maybe walk again without the braces. Hope he hadn't had since the accident. We lit a single candle. Just one. He made a wish. I pretended not to cry. But what he didn't know was that someone had already stolen that wish. I got the notification around 2 a.m. that night, a declined transfer from my health savings account. Weird, but I figured it was a glitch. I tried to log in. Denied. Tried again. Locked out. When I finally got in, I stopped breathing. $0. Not reduced. Not short. Just gone. Every extra dollar I'd tucked away from tutoring. Every weekend shift at the diner. Every Christmas card from Grandma with a tin inside. 2 years of scraping and sacrificing wiped clean. I sat at the kitchen table in the dark. The cake sat in the center, half-eaten, wax from the candle still curled in the icing. My son had gone to bed smiling. He didn't know our dream just died. And Ray, my cousin, was asleep in the guest room. The same cousin who'd moved in for a couple weeks after her breakup. The same one who said she'd help with Jalen. The one who braided his hair after baths. Sang him old TLC songs. Said it felt like healing. The guest room door was closed. I stood in front of it for a full minute, heart racing, fists clenched. I didn't open it. Not yet. Because something inside me already knew. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat in the kitchen, staring at the flickering fridge light, listening to the hum of the ceiling fan and the occasional creak of the house settling. Jacksonville heat sticks to everything at 3 a.m. The walls, your skin, your thoughts. I kept looking at that cake. Chocolate fudge, Jalen's favorite. It felt like a grave now. Around 5:45 a.m., I walked outside barefoot. The porch boards were cool from the night air. I sat on the top step, knees to my chest, trying to breathe through the tightness in my throat. Somewhere down the street, a sprinkler hissed to life. It was just another Monday. But my world had cracked down the middle. By 7 o'clock, Ray was up, fresh-faced, hair pulled into a loose bun, wearing one of my old band tees like she'd just rolled out of a teenage sleepover. She poured herself coffee like nothing had happened. "Morning," she said. I just nodded. She smiled, almost sweetly, and said she was running to Target after breakfast, something about needing moisturizer and protein bars. I watched her stir French vanilla creamer into her mug with the same spoon Jalen used to mix the batter. She didn't say a word about grease. But I had seen it. Around 3 a.m., in that fog of disbelief and desperation, I'd gone to her Instagram. Santorini. An oceanside rooftop bar, golden hour light, drink in hand, wind whipping her hair like she was in a perfume ad. The caption said, "Finally breathing again." And around her neck was a cheap plastic bead necklace Jalen had made her after his last surgery. Bright red and green strung on stretchy cord. He gave it to her while still groggy from anesthesia. Told her it was lucky. And she'd worn it, to Greece. My hands started shaking. I excused myself to the bathroom and dry heaved over the sink. That necklace. That post. That smile. She hadn't just stolen money. She had stolen his hope. My child's hope. I picked Jalen up from school that afternoon. His braces clicked softly as he walked toward me, backpack half unzipped. Smile wide like he was about to tell me a secret. He got in the car and said, "Guess what? I told Mrs. Kincaid I'm going to Texas. She said she's proud of me." I bit my lip until I tasted blood. "That's great, baby," I whispered. At home, he dragged his little suitcase out of the hall closet and started packing. Folded socks. Toothbrush. His race car pajamas. I stood in the doorway and watched Frozen. "Just in case they call early," he said, "I serious." That's when the first tear escaped. I turned away so he wouldn't see. I waited until he was asleep before I logged into the account again. Checked every transfer. $30 here. $120 there. All over the course of months. Disguised as recurring bills. Grocery runs. rideshare payments, all routed through a new digital wallet, one that traced back to my own IP address. She'd used my devices, my Wi-Fi. Me. There was a moment, just one, where I asked myself, could this be some mistake? Maybe someone hacked us? Maybe Ray didn't do it? Then I remembered, my cousin doesn't know how to upload a PDF. She once called Jalen to help her set up her Bluetooth headphones. But she did know how to lie with a straight face. I confronted her that night, sort of. Not directly. Not the way I wanted to. I recorded a voice memo and sent it through text. Calm. Controlled. No accusations. Just questions. Like, did you take the money? Do you know where it went? Did you think about Jalen at all? She replied an hour later. Just a text. You're blowing this out of proportion. I needed space. I'll pay you back. That was it. No apology. No guilt. Not even an emoji. I read that message 20 times, trying to find a crack. Some evidence of remorse. Something human. Nothing. Just ice. I called my sister Dana. She came over within the hour, barefoot, furious, carrying 2 bottles of red wine and a laptop. She didn't ask for details, just sat at my kitchen table, opened Google Docs and said, "Okay. Then we do it the hard way." That night, the house was quiet except for the sound of Dana typing and my own shallow breathing. I lay beside Jalen in his bed, listening to him hum in his sleep, his tiny hand curled against my arm. I remember thinking, this is what she tried to steal. This softness. This little piece of light in my life. But she didn't win. Not yet. At 2:11 a.m., Ray posted again. Another photo. Another rooftop. Only this time, the caption said, "Healing looks different for everyone." But in the background on the edge of the table beside her drink was my debit card. Still in the sleeve with the sunflowers Jalen drew on it. I didn't cry when I saw my debit card in her photo. I didn't scream either. I just sat there at the kitchen table, surrounded by old bank statements, with my phone clenched in my hand like a weapon I didn't know how to use. The card was mine. No doubt. Bright sunflower sleeve. Jalen had colored it with markers on a rainy afternoon in March while I was grading spelling tests. He'd said, "So you can think of me when you buy groceries." And there it was. On a marble table in a luxury rooftop bar in Mykonos. Ray had left Santorini. She was now island hopping. Dana looked up from her laptop and said nothing for a full 30 seconds. Then she whispered, "That absolute snake." She opened a new folder on her desktop. Named it, Ray Receipts. I could barely keep up as she started pulling photos, links, dates. Every post Ray had ever made since moving in. Dana cross-checked them against my bank activity. Spa visits. Designer boutiques. Flights. It all lined up. Ray wasn't just using me. She was living like a damn influencer off my kids' therapy fund. I don't even know when the breakdown started. One minute I was helping Dana screenshot another bikini pic. The next I was standing barefoot in the garage, sobbing into a towel like it owed me answers. Rage, shame, betrayal, every emotion boiled over at once and came out in choked, ugly cries. I felt stupid. So stupid. I'd let her in. I trusted her with my kid. I gave her my house key. I shared my fears with her after Jalen's last scan, and she'd hug me like we were still the kind of cousins who snuck candy under the covers at Grandma's. But the Ray who used to braid my hair when I had lice in 5th grade was gone. Replaced by someone slick. Calculated. Hollow. By sunrise, we had a 32-page document. Every photo. Every transaction. Every timeline match. Dana added captions like, November 3rd, Ray tags boutique in Soho. Harper's account shows $314 debit on same day. December 12th, hotel in Key West. Screenshot of poolside mojito. $208 withdrawal. I wanted to throw up all over again. At 8 a.m., Ray came downstairs. She'd been out the night before, seeing a friend, and now walked into the kitchen in a silk robe and my slippers. My slippers. Jalen's stuffed fox was tucked under her arm. She blinked at us. Did I miss a sleepover? Dana smiled. Sharp. No, just organizing family memories. Ray looked between us. She felt it. The shift. I didn't say a word. I just watched her pour almond milk into her coffee like she wasn't a goddamn thief. The rage in me simmered quietly like coals under ash. Controlled. Not ready to explode yet. That came later. I wanted to give her a chance to explain. To confess. Some pathetic, buried part of me hoped she'd sit me down, tearfully admit she was lost, broken, desperate. that maybe she tried to borrow a little and spiraled. But instead, she went to the spa. Swiped my card again. I found out because the bank flagged a $96 charge at Serenity Lounge one town over. The same afternoon, she posted a boomerang of a face mask and cucumber water. Caption, detoxing from all the drama. That's when I broke. Not with words. Not with yelling. But with action. That night, I waited until Jalen was asleep and Ray was in the shower. Then I walked into her room, phone light in hand, and opened her suitcase. Luxury brands. Perfume bottles. Sunglasses that cost more than my monthly car payment. She had 2 new purses. One still had the tag $8.90. In the inner pocket was a receipt. Business class flight. Jacksonville to Athens. Paid with a card under my name. I sat on the edge of the bed holding it in my hands like it might catch fire. And then I saw it. Tucked into a makeup bag, folded into a tiny square. A flyer for the therapy program. Jalen's therapy program. The one I'd printed and left on the fridge. She had taken it. Folded it. Packed it. Why? What kind of sick keepsake was that? That was the exact moment my sadness turned into something else. It wasn't grief anymore. It was war. I marched back to Dana. We stayed up until 3 a.m., putting the finishing touches on the Ray file. We included photos of Jalen smiling, trying to stand, holding onto the couch with shaking knees. We added screenshots of her Instagram alongside bank statements. Dana even pulled quotes from her captions. Healing takes courage. I'm learning to protect my peace. I was shaking with fury. Protect your peace? You stole a child's future for gel manicures and boat selfies. The final file was done. Proof, page after page. I stared at it on Dana's screen, fists clenched. And I said, she thinks I'm too soft to fight back. Dana looked up. Then let's prove her wrong. The confrontation didn't happen in some dramatic screaming match. It happened at Olive Garden. Because of course it did. It was my Aunt Valerie's birthday, Ray's mom. A family tradition, soup, salad, breadsticks, and pretending we're normal. I hadn't planned to go. I didn't want to sit across from the woman who drained my son's medical fund and smile through it. But Dana said she'll be there. So will everyone else. We don't corner snakes, we expose them. So I put on mascara and packed the USB drive in my purse. Not for drama. For justice. Ray showed up 15 minutes late. Waved like she'd just come from a yoga retreat. Tan. Glowing. Draped in a scarf I knew wasn't hers, soft pink, embroidered edges. It had belonged to our grandmother. She used to wear it on Easter. Ray must have snuck it out of her closet before Greece. I was sitting between Dana and our cousin Mark, the family's self-appointed voice of reason. Ray air-kissed everyone like she was royalty and then bent down to hug me. I missed you, she said, and I swear she even meant it. But her perfume burned in my nose like bleach. Something expensive. Something stolen. I leaned in, whispered, I know what you did. She pulled back slowly, face unreadable. A small flicker behind her eyes. That was it. Then she smiled. Sat down like nothing had happened. Dinner was a slow burn. Small talk. Birthday cards. Ray complimented my blouse, asked about school, told the table she was working on a new spiritual wellness brand. Said it with a straight face like she wasn't sitting in $900 shoes funded by birthday cards from my deadbeat dad. Then she raised a glass. To family. And to fresh starts. I nearly choked on my water. That was my moment. I stood up. Slowly. Unzipped my purse. Pulled out the USB. The room went quiet. Just forks clinking and Ray's fake laugh dying in her throat. I turned to Uncle Rob. The tech guy. Logical. Quiet. Been in IT for 30 years. Trusted by everyone. Uncle Rob, I said. Can you plug this into your laptop? There's something the family should see. He looked confused, then concerned. But he did it. I didn't say anything else. I didn't need to. The screen lit up. A folder labeled RA. Inside, date-stamped screenshots, bank transactions, withdrawal logs. Ray's Instagram posts matched side by side with my drained account activity. And then came the photo. The one with my debit card next to her cocktail in Mykonos. The silence turned into a vacuum. My aunt gasped. Ray's mom. My mom's sister. She looked at the screen. Then at Ray. Then at me. You did this? She asked Ray, voice trembling. Ray didn't deny it. She laughed. Actually laughed. Wow, she said. You really put all that together? Just for me. And that was when Dana stood up. Calm. Deadly. I put it together, she said, for Jalen. Something broke after that. Our grandmother stood up and walked out. My uncle closed the laptop and said, "You're not welcome in my home again." Even Mark, Mr. Diplomat, shook his head in disbelief. But Ray? She rolled her eyes, grabbed her purse, and said, "This is why I needed distance. This family is toxic." She walked out of Olive Garden like she hadn't just nuked every bridge she ever had. I sat there shaking, not because she denied it, but because she didn't care. There was no apology, no tears. No, I messed up. She didn't even try to lie. Because to her, it wasn't wrong. It was just inconvenient that she got caught. That night, I put Jalen to bed in silence. He asked if we were still going to Texas. I told him we were trying. Trying hard, he asked. Trying our hardest, I said, and kissed his forehead. 2 days later, Ray called me. Blocked number. I answered without thinking. She was screaming. "You ruined me. You don't even know what I've been through." I didn't yell back. Just listened. "You have no idea what it's like to live with constant pressure," she said. "To feel like everyone expects you to fail." I stayed quiet. Then I said, "You stole from a kid who can't walk without braces." She went silent, then hung up. That was the last time I ever heard her voice. The next morning, an envelope showed up at my door. No return address. Just my name in blocky handwriting. Inside, a cashier's check for $9,000. And a note. I sold the ring. Don't contact me again. I held that cashier's check like it was radioactive. $9,000. The exact amount missing. For a second, my knees went weak. Relief tried to bloom, but something colder choked it out. It wasn't a gift. It wasn't justice. It was Ray's way of ending the story. Tie it up. Disappear. Like a bribe wrapped in guilt and sealed with silence. Jalen was in the living room, building a Lego tower taller than his juice cup. He looked up when I walked in and asked, "Is it good news?" I couldn't answer. My throat just closed. I didn't know what to feel. The money was back, but the damage wasn't undone. Time hadn't rewound. I still remembered the night he cried because I told him the trip might be delayed. I still remembered the way Ray had tucked him in, humming like a saint while she was draining his future 2 rooms away. That week felt like walking through fog. Everyone in the family had picked sides. Most were with me. Some quietly weren't. I heard whispers of maybe Harper should have just asked for help, or it's not like Ray didn't pay it back. My aunt never called. Neither did Ray. And for the first time in my life, I felt like an orphan in my own bloodline. Even Dana went home. She lived 2 towns over and had her own kids. She texted every day, but the silence in the house was heavy without her typing at the kitchen table. I went back to work. Tried to pretend things were normal. Smiled at my students. Graded spelling tests. Ate my sandwich in the teacher's lounge with headphones in. But inside, I was brittle. One night, I was putting Jalen to bed when he said, "You're sad in your eyebrows." I blinked. "What?" He pointed at his face. "Right here. They go like this now." He furrowed his little brows. I laughed. Couldn't help it. "I guess I am a little sad." He nodded. "Is it because the trip was almost gone?" Almost gone. Not canceled. Not ruined. Just almost. That tiny word cracked something open in me. I pulled him into my lap and whispered, "You always bring it back, you know that?" He smiled. "I'm magic." That night, I sat in bed with the check in my lap and a pen in my hand. I didn't know what to write. I just needed the feelings to land somewhere outside my ribs. I ended up scribbling one sentence over and over on a Post-it. She didn't just steal money. She stole my trust. The next morning, Jalen woke up early. He ran to the calendar and circled the new date in red marker. I watched him, coffee in hand, and asked, "What are you most excited for?" He didn't hesitate. "To race you to the mailbox." That morning, I watched him circle the calendar like he was signing a promise. Red ink. Big loops. No hesitation. It lit something in me. Something that had been quietly simmering behind the heartbreak, behind the betrayal, behind the silence everyone expected me to accept. Because here's the thing about people like Ray. They count on you being too tired to fight back. Too polite. Too scared of making noise. But I was done being polite. I took the check straight to the bank. Deposited it without flinching. Because Jalen deserved that therapy spot. Deserved that chance. Even if it came wrapped in poison. But I didn't stop there. I printed every page of that Ray file Dana and I built. Labeled it. Indexed it. I sent copies to every relevant relative, the ones who were still unsure, who had been sitting in the shadows whispering family drama, like this was a spat about holiday seating and not grand larceny. I didn't ask for sympathy. I asked for accountability. And I got it. One by one, the texts started coming. I didn't know it was that deep. You were right to go public. That broke my heart. How's Jalen? Some even sent money. Not much. 20 here. 50 there. Enough to help with gas. With snacks on the road. With hope. That fire inside me rage turned into fuel wouldn't stop burning. I wrote a public post. Not petty. Not bitter. Just true. I didn't name Ray, but I told the story. Every dollar. Every lie. Every choice. I told the world what it feels like to watch someone you love smile at your child with one hand while stealing from them with the other. The post went viral in our community group. Then someone from a local news blog reached out. Then a nonprofit that helps single parents with travel for medical care messaged me. They offered a stipend. Free hotel nights in Austin. I said yes. Not for me. For the boy with red marker on the calendar. 2 days later, Ray messaged me from a burner account. No apology. No remorse. Just, why are you still talking about this? I paid you back. And for the first time, I didn't cry. I didn't even flinch. I typed back. You didn't pay me back. You refunded your theft. That's not the same thing. Then I blocked her. The night before we left for Austin, I walked past Jalen's door and heard him whispering. He wasn't on the phone. Wasn't playing a game. He was looking out the window, whispering. Just a few more sleeps. I'm ready. I'm ready. And I knew right then that I hadn't just saved money. I'd saved his belief. We left for Austin at sunrise. The car was packed with snacks, pillows, Jalen's favorite stuffed fox, and a printed itinerary so detailed you'd think we were going on a space mission. He wore his race-used sneakers. The same ones he couldn't even walk in a year ago without falling. I watched him buckle his seatbelt, braces tucked neatly beneath his jeans, and thought, this is what survival looks like. Not loud. Not flashy. Just moving forward. He grinned at me from the back seat. Start the engine, Mom. We got places to be. The road to Austin was long 800 miles of cracked highways, gas stations that smelled like burnt coffee, and playlists Jalen made filled with everything from Disney songs to 90s hip-hop. Somewhere near Baton Rouge, he asked. Do you think people get better? Like, really better? Even if they messed up bad? I glanced at him in the mirror. Sometimes. If they want to. And if they try really hard. He nodded like he was filing the answer away for later. Then added, I hope Ray gets better. But I'm glad we're not waiting anymore. That was the moment I realized. He wasn't carrying what I was. He wasn't bitter. He was just ready to begin. The therapy center was bright and clean. Walls painted with clouds. The kind of place where kids weren't pitted, they were challenged. I watched from the hallway as Jalen tried the parallel bars on day 1. He wobbled. He gritted his teeth. He looked at me and mouthed, watch this. He took 4 steps. 4. Without help. And I swear to God, I felt the universe shift. Not because he was cured. Not because it was easy. But because he believed he could. That night, we sat in our little hotel room. Cheap floral curtains. A microwave that sounded like a chainsaw. And I felt more peace than I had in 2 years. I pulled out the old Post-it I had crumpled into my wallet. The one that said, she didn't just steal money. She stole my trust. I added one more line beneath it in red ink, just like the calendar. But not our future. Then I folded it again. Not to hide it, but to end it. We spent the next 6 weeks in a rhythm of rehab, laughter, late-night takeout, and watching Jalen grow stronger. He fell a lot. Cried once. But he never gave up. And neither did I. The night we returned home, I unlocked the mailbox and found a letter from the therapy center. Inside was a certificate. Jalen Thomas, most determined patient of the year. He held it up like it was a trophy. Then turned to me, eyes shining. You know what comes next? What? He pointed at the sidewalk. Now we race. For real. I grinned. You ready? He nodded. You better be. He took off, awkward, brave, and smiling. And for the first time in forever, I let myself run.